I am Niharika. Welcome back to a new lesson. So, what do you think I'm doing? Well, you got it right. I'm thinking. So, what does to think really mean? You see the word here, to think? Well, to think means my mind is occupied. So, my mind is pretty conscious. Maybe I'm trying to remember something, or probably I'm making some rational decisions in my mind. So that's what I mean when I talk about thinking. Now here we are going to look at some phrasal verbs with the verb think. So if you add another element, probably or typically an adverb or a preposition, then that gets you your phrasal verb. So phrasal verbs are nothing but to the verb you add an adverb or a preposition. So the meaning of the verb totally changes and it's a brand new phrase for you. So we do use these phrases on daily basis, and that's what we are going to look at. We are going to look at some phrasal verbs with to think. So let's see what we have over here. The first one that I have for you is to think ahead. Now, to think ahead, what does that really mean? Well, to think ahead means you plan for something that may or will happen in future. So you are getting prepared for it. Like, these little children, when their vacations are approaching, they already start thinking of making plans. So they already think of things that they want to really do in the vacation. They want to go for movies, they want to go for a holiday, and then moms walk in and they're like, it's time for your examinations, so you better stop thinking ahead, okay? You need to concentrate on your studies, and then you can think ahead later. Right? So that is when we use the phrasal verb to think ahead. Or for example, well, we are already thinking ahead of what will happen after the elections. So this means that they are already planning, they're getting prepared to what will happen after the elections. Okay? So that is to think ahead for you. The next one that I have for you is to think back. So, well, think ahead, of course, think back would be opposite to it, right? What it means is that you think of your past, okay? You recapture your past, you indulge into your memories. So probably you did something in the past that you're really not proud of, or you are a little ashamed or a little embarrassed. Then when you have to talk about it, you will say, well, when I think back to what I did in my college, I feel so ashamed or I feel so embarrassed. Probably you walked in a fashion show for your college and you were wearing something really funny or something really awful and you are really embarrassed about it. So you can always say that, when I think back of my college fashion show days, I am so embarrassed about it. Okay, so that's how you will use the phrasal verb. The third one that I have for you is off. Now, there are certain phrasal verbs that you need to keep in mind that has different meanings, okay? So, not all of them, but yes, there are many phrasal verbs that has 2 or 3 different meanings to it. So, how would you use the phrasal verb to think of? Well, firstly, it means that, when you know some facts or you know something that does exist and something that you would like to share it with people, okay, so that is when you say to think of. For example, let's not get confused. For example, can you think of some examples for me, please? So this is something that you know and you are thinking of it, right? And that you would like to share it. So can you think of some examples for me? Or you can say, Can you think of some ideas to decorate this table? Okay, so you're asking for suggestions. Now, another meaning for this one is to consider a possibility of doing something. So that's the second meaning for this phrasal verb, that's to consider a possibility of doing something. So probably you love shoes and you have some extra money to invest for a shoe business, then you can always say, well, I'm thinking of starting a shoe business. So you're considering a possibility of doing something. So that's how you would use this phrasal verb. The next one that I have for you is to think out. Now, what does to think out mean? Well, it means that you consider some facts before doing something or before deciding on something. So probably your daughter comes and says, hey mom, I really want to go clubbing with my friends. And your mom is kind of analyzing that, oh, she's a young girl, should I send her clubbing, should I not? So she's trying to analyze it, right? So she would say, well, let me think out and I'll let you know, sweetie, okay? So she is trying to consider all the facts before she goes ahead and tells her that you may go or you may not. The next one that I have for you is to think over. Now, to think over is also a little similar to think out, but I'll just give you the exact meaning, okay? What exactly it means? Well, it means that when you consider you really try to decide that, should we do this or should we not? You try to analyze things wherein probably this is good for her or for him or this is bad. So again, you're analyzing, you're thinking over it, you're trying to get your mind to decide, okay? So you are thinking over it. For example, someone proposes you a business. So you say, well, this really looks good to me, but I think I'm gonna think over it, okay? Or probably I'll think over it. So you are considering the facts, okay? So maybe this is good or this is bad, so you're analyzing it. Now the last one that I have for you is to think through. Now this is also a little similar to out and over, but here you are considering all the possibilities in a very thorough or in a very organized manner, okay? So you are really putting it forward. For example, again, a person comes and offers you a project, a business, okay, something new. You really want to sit down and think over it or think through it in a very organized manner, okay? So again, you are considering or you consider in an organized manner. All right, so consider in a very organized manner. So let's just quickly revise this. To think ahead means to plan for the future, okay? The second one that I have for you is to think back, which means to think about your past. Okay, so you think about your past events. The next one that I have for you is to think of, which has two meanings. The first one is wherein you think of doing something. For example, you are trying to give suggestions, okay, some facts that you know and you want to share it with someone. So sharing facts. Alright, and the second meaning to is to consider a possibility of doing something. Whereas to think out is to think carefully, okay? Alright, and then to think over is considering the facts before you decide or you do something, whereas think through, consider, something that is bad or good in a very organized manner. So these are the phrasal verbs for you with the verb to think. Now stop thinking too much and start using these phrasal verbs for your daily conversations. And I'll be back with a new lesson soon. Till then, you take care.